The wind carried dust and desperation across the New Mexico territory in equal measure. Jacob Morrison stood at the edge of his failing ranch, watching another calf stumble on legs too weak to hold it upright. 3 years of drought had turned his once promising cattle operation into a graveyard of dreams. His wife had died the previous winter, pneumonia that he couldn't afford to treat properly, and now he was raising their 6-year-old daughter, Emma, in a 2-room cabin that leaked when it rained, which was almost never anymore. Jacob was 42 years old and felt 70. His hands, calloused and cracked, trembled as he counted the coins in his leather pouch for the 3rd time that morning. $4.30. That was all that stood between his daughter and starvation. The bank had already sent notice. He had 30 days to pay the back taxes of $200, or they'd seize everything. He tried every neighboring ranch, every merchant in town, but no one had work to offer. The drought had made beggars of them all. As the sun climbed higher, promising another day of merciless heat, Jacob made his way back to the cabin. Emma sat on the porch, her blonde hair matted, her dress, the only one she owned, patched so many times it was more patches than original fabric. She was drawing pictures in the dust with a stick, humming a song her mother used to sing. The sight of her innocent concentration made Jacob's chest tighten with a pain sharper than hunger. "Papa, when will we have eggs again?" she asked without looking up. "Soon, sweetheart. Real soon." The lie tasted like ash in his mouth. It was then that he saw the figure approaching from the eastern ridge. In this desolate country, visitors were rare, and rarely brought good news. Jacob instinctively moved closer to Emma, his hand resting on the old rifle propped beside the door. As the figure drew nearer, he could make out details: a young woman, Apache by her dress and the way she moved across the land like she was part of it. She couldn't have been more than 19 or 20, with long black hair that caught the sunlight and skin the color of burnished copper. She stopped 30 feet from the cabin, her dark eyes taking in the scene with an intelligence that made Jacob uncomfortable. He'd had little dealing with the Apache, most had been driven onto reservations years ago, though some still moved through the territory like ghosts of what once was. "You are Morrison," she said. It wasn't a question. Her English was accented but clear. "I am. What do you want?" She took a step closer, and Jacob noticed she carried a leather satchel across her shoulder. "My name is Aida. My grandmother sent me. She says you are a good man in a bad time." Jacob almost laughed at that. "Your grandmother doesn't know me. She knows you did not shoot my cousin's son when you found him stealing water from your well last month. She knows you left bread wrapped in cloth where he could find it." Aida's eyes held his. In these times, such things are known. They are remembered. Jacob did remember, a boy, maybe 12, so desperate for water he'd risked his life to take it. Jacob had watched from the barn, rifle in hand, and made a choice he still didn't fully understand. He'd simply walked away, leaving the boy to drink and disappear into the hills. "What does your grandmother want?" Jacob asked, his voice softer now. Aida reached into her satchel and produced a small leather pouch. The unmistakable clink of coins made Jacob's breath catch. "There is $200 here. Enough for your debt." Jacob stared at the pouch, then at the young woman. "Why? Why would your grandmother?" "I can't, there's nothing I could possibly." "She asks for one thing only," Aida interrupted. Her voice remained steady, but something shifted in her expression, a flicker of nervousness that hadn't been there before. "She asks that you allow me to stay here one night. Tomorrow, at dawn, I leave, and the debt is paid. You keep the money." The words hit Jacob like cold water. His mind raced through implications, assumptions, all of them making him feel sick. "Ma'am, I don't know what you've been told, but I wouldn't. You do not understand." Aida took another step forward, and now he could see her eyes were bright with something that looked like desperation. "I need only a roof for one night. Nothing more. My grandmother," she paused, seeming to struggle with the words. There are men from my village who have decided I will marry one of them. Tomorrow. I have refused, but they will force me. My grandmother believes if I spend one night here, if I am unchaperoned with a white man, these men will consider me ruined. They will leave me alone. It is the only way I can choose my own path. Jacob felt the ground shift beneath his understanding of the situation. This wasn't what he'd assumed at all. This was a young woman using the prejudices and assumptions of her own people, and his, as a shield. It was clever and desperate and sad all at once. Your grandmother is giving me $200 just so you can. My grandmother was forced to marry when she was 14, Aida said quietly. To a man who beat her for 30 years. She saved this money grain by grain, coin by coin, from her work selling baskets and pottery. She told me it was for buying my freedom. She said to find a man who had proven he could let others take what he had without violence. A man who might understand what it means to need mercy. Emma had stopped drawing in the dust and was watching the exchange with wide eyes. Jacob crouched down beside his daughter. Emmy, go inside and play with your doll for a bit, okay? Is the lady staying for dinner? Emma asked. We don't have, Jacob started, then stopped. With $200, they could have food. Real food. Medicine. They could keep the ranch. They could survive. But taking money for this, even if nothing untoward was happening, felt wrong in ways he couldn't articulate. After Emma went inside, Jacob turned back to Aida. This money should be yours. For your freedom. You should take it and go somewhere far from here, start a new life. $200 would not take me far enough, Aida replied. They would follow. They would find me. But if I am seen as compromised, as unsuitable for marriage by their traditions, they will leave me alone. I can stay near my grandmother. I can live my life as I choose, here on this land where I was born. Jacob looked at the pouch in her hand, then at the cabin where his daughter waited, hungry and unaware of how close they'd come to losing everything. He thought of his wife, who had loved him enough to follow him to this hard country. He thought of the dreams they'd had, of the life they'd wanted to build. He thought of all the ways the world could be cruel, and all the small ways people could choose to be kind instead. You can stay, he said finally. But not for payment. You can stay because nobody should be forced into a marriage they don't want. You can stay because your grandmother's sacrifice deserves to mean something. But I can't take her money. For the first time, Aida's composure cracked. You do not understand, you need this money. My grandmother knew this. It is why she chose you. Please, let us both survive. Let us both be free. They stood there in the dust and heat, two people trapped by circumstances neither had created, both trying to find honor in an impossible situation. Finally, Jacob spoke. Half, he said. I'll take $100. Enough to save my ranch and feed my daughter. The other 100 is yours. You take it and keep it, for when you need it. For your future. For whatever life you choose to build. Aida's eyes glistened. She opened the pouch and carefully counted out $100, then handed it to Jacob. The weight of the coins in his hand felt like the weight of survival itself. That evening, Jacob used some of the money to buy food in town, real food, meat and bread and vegetables. Aida helped Emma in the kitchen while Jacob tended to the animals. They ate together at the small table, and Jacob couldn't remember when a meal had tasted so good, not because of the food itself, but because of what it represented. Hope. Continuation. The possibility that tomorrow might be better than today. Aida slept in the main room. Jacob gave her his own bedroll and pillow, while he kept watch from the porch. Not because he didn't trust her, but because he understood the performance required. When the men from her village came looking, as they surely would, he needed to be able to look them in the eye and tell them the truth. She had stayed here, alone with him, through the whole night. As dawn broke across the New Mexico landscape, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Aida prepared to leave. Emma had